How to teach a middle position, also known as a peekaboo, to your dog. For this, you'll need a dog and some of your dog's favourite food. We'll be teaching the dog to find the position in between our two legs and then look up at us. Part 1. We're going to teach the dog to follow some food in our hand. Our legs will be open, and when the dog's head comes around to the back of our calf, we're going to release the food. Notice the position of my hand when it touches my calf. Part 2. Bringing the dog through your legs. This time, instead of releasing the food at your calf, change the food into your other hand and then guide your dog through your legs. You need to change the food from the first hand that brings the dog around, and when their head stops at the back of your calf, like so, we switch the food into the other hand and then encourage the dog through our legs, stopping when their paws are just past your toes. Part 3. In this section, we're going to add in the sit. This time, instead of releasing the food when the dog's two front paws reach your toes, slowly move the food over the dog's head. As the dog's head moves up, their body will form a sit position. Here we're going to encourage the dog to hold that position looking up at us by rewarding a few more times. Part 4. In this section, we are removing the food from our first hand to see if our dog is starting to understand the visual cue we're giving. Notice how the dog still gets rewarded after he performs the behaviour. This is important because we want the dog to realise that the food is the consequence of the behaviour and not the cue for the behaviour. Part 5. Adding in the verbal cue. Notice in this section how the word is said a split second before any visual cue is given. This is important as eventually we will want to fade out the visual cue altogether. Part 6. Adding distance. In this section, we're adding some distance the dog has to travel to find the position. Notice how we're already fading out some of the hand cue. Part 7. Removing the hand cue. In this section, we've reduced the distance again as we're not giving the dog that visual hand cue anymore. Part 8. Adding distraction. In this section, we're changing the position of our body to add some distraction into the training pattern. Notice how the dog still has to find the position in between our legs. This should be a fun element and only progress to when you feel the dog can be successful. Part 9. Adding movement. For this section, we're going to add some movement of our body and encourage the dog to walk with us. This is a fun element that we can add in later on. Make sure that the first steps are all understood by the dog before adding this in. We can start off by rewarding every step. Eventually we can reward every second step, third step, fourth step, and finally only rewarding when we stop and the dog eventually sits again. Having fun and adding in different behaviours.